Okay, tonight is Genesis chapter 43.
And the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest against us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you.
At the end of chapter 42, Jacob's sons had told Jacob what happened in Egypt, that their brother Simeon was being kept there, and that the governor of the land said, unless you bring back your youngest brother, basically don't even bother coming to see me again. Right? So with that, and Jacob is still not wanting to send Benjamin with them. So that was kind of the impasse that ended chapter 42. Right, so chapter 43 begins. It says, and the famine was sore in the land. In other words, it wasn't getting any better. So they went through all the food that they had brought. It says, when it came to pass, they had eaten up the corn which they brought out of Egypt. The father said unto them, you have to go back and buy more. All right, we're out of food. We're going to die of starvation here. All right, and but now Judah, one of the sons, responds to him, saying, well, wait a minute now. He says, remember, the man we dealt with said, you're not even going to get in to see me unless your younger brother is with you. Right? So if you agree to send Benjamin with us, we'll make the trip and we'll buy more food. Right? But if you don't send him, there's no point in going. All right? It says, we're not going to go, for the man said, you shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. All right? So we're not going to go. I mean, there's no point in going and being refused entrance to even do what we went there to do. So either agree to send Benjamin, or we stay home.
And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? And they said, The man asked us straitly of our state, and of our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we certainly know that he would say, Bring your brother down?
So in considering this, Jacob says, which again might be a logical question, why were you so open with the details about our family? Why did you have to tell him there were 12 brothers? I mean, you were 10 there. Why did you have to offer the fact that there was another brother back home? If you would have just kept your mouth shut and just left it that you were 10, we wouldn't be in this situation. All right? And so the response was, well, we didn't really think that was going to happen. Right? I mean, he was just asking us questions. He asked, is your father alive? How many are in your family, and so forth. So, how could we know that he was going to think we were spies and say that we had to bring our younger brother here? All right, so that we were just being honest and open, and this is what happened. And in some ways, though, it could be a lesson to some of us that I've often said to people that there's things you don't have to say everything about yourself. At times you should think about, well, if I share this information, could it be used against me? And this was a case where that happened. They were open and honest and saying everything about their family, and so it was used against them. That, you have another brother back home? Bring him here.
And Judah said unto Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time.
So at this point, Judah kind of steps up and offers to be the responsible party. All right, he says in 8, listen. He says, send him with me, all right, and I'll take care of him, right? Because we need to do this. All right, it says in 8, it says that we may live and not die, both us and you and all of our little ones. In other words, that maybe there's some risk if we go. There's risk to any of us that we could be killed. But if we stay here and don't go, we're all going to die because we're out of food. We're running out of food, and it's the famine. We can't get any more. This is the only place where we can go. So, your choice. We can risk dying by going there, or we can stay here and for sure we'll all die. So, I mean, it does seem like, when you put it that way, I mean, it seems like the better choice is to just go and see what happens, right? And then in 9, he offers himself as the, I'll say a guardian, for Benjamin. He says, I'll personally take care of him. I'll personally assure that he gets back, right? So if we don't bring him back, you blame me, right? It'll be on me. Now, again, what that means is to get to see, but the idea that I'll be personally responsible for it. I'll make that my number one priority, is to take care of him and make sure he gets back to you, all right? And then he just even points out in 10, all the time we spent talking about this, we could have been there and back by now. So let's just stop talking about this. Let's do it, get it done. We'll get the food, bring everybody back, and then we can go on from there.
And their father Israel said unto them, If it must be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little balm, and a little honey, spices, and myrrh, nuts, and almonds. And take double money in your hand, and the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sacks, carry it again in your hand, peradventure it was an oversight. Take also your brother, and arise, go again unto the man. And God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved.
So finally, Jacob realized he really has no choice here. So okay. All right, he says, if it has to be this way, then go. But let's try to prepare the best we can here. So in 11, he says, take gifts for this man. He says, take the best fruits in the land. Bring him a present. Okay, a little balm, honey, spice, myrrh, nuts, almonds, everything. Whatever you can bring, okay? You want to be, as nice as possible here, and offer gifts and so forth. This way things can work out for the best. And also in 12, he says, take double money with you, and the money that was given back to you in your sacks, right? See, if you read it quick, you might think the double money meant, to buy more food, and then the double meant they were returning what they were given before. No. It was double money plus the money that was given back to you the last time. So for sure, give back the money that you found in your sack, and say it was an oversight, but now even take double, so in case you need to even pay extra for the food, you'd be willing to pay more than what it's worth, or maybe the price has gone up, right? So you take more money than what you need, right? And for sure take back what they gave you back the last time, because that was an oversight. We didn't steal it, it was in our sack, so here, take that back from last time, and now here's the money that we brought to buy food this time, right? So he's in point 30, okay, take your brother, go, bring all this stuff, all right? It says, and may God give you mercy before this man, that things would work out for the best, that he'll release your older brother Simeon and Benjamin, and you'll all come back to me. He said, because if I lose any of my children, I'm bereaved, and it's just not, I just don't know how I can live with it. So take everything, take gifts, extra money, take your brother, go. I'll be praying the whole time that you all return to me.
And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up, and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, Bring these men home, and slay, and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, Because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen, and our asses.
So they arrived back in Egypt, right? They had the presents, double money, they had Benjamin, they were there, right? Now, they come into we'll say the palace, wherever Joseph was being the governor, and it says when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, right? So he's okay. They brought him, so now we can move along. So he says to the ruler of his house, in other words, whoever was responsible for his personal residence, he says, all right, you see those 11 men there? He says, take them to my house and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. So he said, they're having lunch at my house today, so just bring them over there and get the house ready, get the meal ready, right? They're going to have lunch with me today. So he did so. He told them, okay, you're going to his house. You're going to the governor's house. Now, maybe he didn't point out that they were going there for lunch, right? But because in 18 says they were afraid. It says they were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, because they realized they're being treated differently than, assumingly there were others there lined up to buy food. They come in, okay, give me this much, okay, here's money, here you go, goodbye. Now he sees these 11, okay, take them to my house, right? So, why are we being treated differently All right, what's going on? Maybe it's because of the money that was in our sacks the last time. He says maybe they think, that we stole it. So he says, because of the money that was returned in our sacks the first time we're brought in, they may seek occasion against us and fall upon us. Right? We're going to be punished. They realize that we took that money. They think we stole it, and now they're bringing us to the house to be punished in some way.
And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house, and said, O sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, when we came to the inn, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we had brought it again in our hand. And other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. And he said, Peace be to you. Fear not. Your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. And he brought Simeon out unto them.
And this happens a lot of times when you have, let's say, a guilty conscience. You start talking before you're even asked anything. So they right away are offering up all this information. It says as they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, they started talking to them and said, listen, the last time we came, we brought money for the food. We paid the money, and then on the way home, it was in our sacks. It was there. And so, we didn't steal it. And now in 22 it says, we brought it back. Look, we don't know how it got there, but we brought it back, and here it is, and so forth. Because they're afraid they're going to get punished for it. So right away they're trying to defend themselves and explain what really happened. Right? Now, in a very unusual response in 23, it says, and the steward says, Peace be to you, fear not. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I have your original money, right? So, and now, of course, that wasn't true, but in a very interesting way of putting it, right? Especially since the people in Egypt wouldn't necessarily believe in the God of Israel, but to say, you know what? If that money was there, if you found money in your sack, your God put it there. We didn't. We still have the money that you gave us the last time. Really? All right. So in other words, he's not going to say, well, Joseph said to put it back in there, but nor is he going to take it from them. Keep it. It's yours. And to further put them at ease, it says at the end of 23, and he brought Simeon out unto them. So in other words, relax. You're not here because you're under suspicion of stealing. And here is your other brother. All right. You're all here together because Joseph had just said to bring you to his house.
And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their asses provender. And they made ready the present against Joseph came at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant, our father, is in good health, he is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance.
So they all go into the house, and they get comfortable, and they're made to feel as guests. At noon, Joseph comes home. They give him the gifts that they brought, and they're basically having a nice visit here, right? And Joseph says, how's your father doing? Is he yet alive? In 28, this says our father is in good health. He's yet alive, right? So obviously he wants to know for himself, is my father still alive? But it's just, it seems like polite conversation. It's noted here how they bow down their heads and they make obeisance, which is, again, the word that was used in his original dream. So again, once again, the brothers are bowing down to him. This time it's all 11, as is really what was the dream, that the 11 sheaves bow down to the one. So it's happening yet again. So even in the course of this visit, he sees the fulfillment of the dream. He sees things coming to pass. Joseph does. And so he's trying to put them at ease, and he's happy to hear that his father is doing well, and now he can proceed from there.
And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep, and he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread.
And now comes an emotional moment. It says he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. It says, this is your younger brother. Now, again, it's been 22 years since he saw him. So Benjamin was supposed to be maybe around, at most maybe 10 years old when Joseph was taken. So he was a boy then. Now he's a grown man. He's 30 or so years old with his own kids. So I mean, quite a difference. Now he's a grown man. So it's a very touching moment, as you see in 30. It says Joseph makes haste, for his bowels here my brother. He sought where to weep, so he went into his bedroom and cried there. Right? That he just went in and wept tears of joy at seeing his brother again after all these years, and it was just a very touching moment. But he was not ready to reveal himself to them at this point, so that's why he just went in there rather than why you start crying? Is this your younger brother? Oh yeah, it is. And so he went in privately and had this private moment. He says, washed his face, refrained himself, and said, okay, let's start with the lunch.
And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with them by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth, and the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him, but Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him.
Now, an interesting detail here in verse 32, as they sit down to eat. See, we may not be accustomed to this kind of thing where it's, certain ones can sit with certain ones and not with other ones and so forth. But, because the Egyptians and Hebrews believed very differently, all right, that even in terms of what they could eat or not eat, right, things that might have been sacred to one where it's okay to eat for the other. So basically they were not seen as people who could eat together even at the same table, right? So if you take that for one fact that the Hebrew and the Egyptian would not eat together at the same table, now you have an interesting little problem here, all right? It says here in 32, they basically sat at 3 different tables, right? That Joseph sat at his own table. He sat alone. The 11 brothers sat at another table, and anybody else who was there in the household, I guess those, the servants or whoever, sat at a third table. Now, why would it have been that way? All right, well, see that Joseph couldn't sit at the same table as his brothers because the brothers thought he was an Egyptian. So therefore, they would have known, wait a minute, how could he sit with us? And he's an Egyptian, and we're Hebrews, he can't eat with us. So he couldn't sit with them. Right? He also couldn't sit with the other Egyptians because the other Egyptians knew that he was a Hebrew. So he couldn't eat with them either. So poor Joseph can't eat with anybody, right? Because the one group thinks he's an Egyptian, the other group knows he's a Hebrew, so he can't eat with anybody. So that's why there's 3 different tables this way, one for him, one for the brothers, one for the Egyptians. So again, just an interesting point in verse 32 as to why it's laid out that way. It says that because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, that's an abomination unto the Egyptians. Right? So in addition to that, now it's pointed out in 33 that for the table where the brothers would sit, they must have put place cards there, all right, so as to where each one should sit, and it says they were arranged according to birthright, the oldest to the youngest, right? So I'm sure they looked at it and said, wait a minute, how did they know, right? How did they know? I mean, it's Reuben, Simeon, Levi, all the way down to Benjamin. How in the world could they have known who was the oldest and who was the youngest? So that's why it says they marveled at that. Of course, Joseph knew who they were. Right? So finally, everybody is seated. And 34 says he took and sent messes or servings of food. It says unto them. It says, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of the rest of them, and they drank and were merry with him. Now the idea of that it was 5 times as big. I mean, 5 times is a big portion, quite frankly. But why would he have done that? All right. Well, one, you say obviously, he didn't feel bad about showing favoritism to his true full brother, right? But second, maybe he was trying to see, well, how the other one's going to react to this? They hated me because I was my father's favorite. So if Benjamin is now the favorite, let's see what happens if we treat him a little special and see if they react the same way toward him. So on the one hand, just to be nice to Benjamin, on the other hand, a little test. Let's see if my brothers have changed at all and if they're going to react to Benjamin being treated special, because he needs to know that in order to decide what he's going to do next regarding them.